Welcome to Building the Future, hosted by Kevin Horick. With millions of listeners a month, Building the Future has quickly become one of the fastest rising programs, with a focus on interviewing startups, entrepreneurs, investors, CEOs, and more. The radio and TV show airs in 15 markets across the globe, including Silicon Valley. For full showtimes, past episodes, or to sponsor the show, please visit buildingthefutureshow.com.
Welcome back to the show. Today we have Girish Ramachandra. He's the co-founder and CEO at Shopalyst. Girish, welcome to the show.
Hey, Kevin. How are you?
I'm very well. Yourself?
Doing good. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on the show today. I think what you guys are doing at Shopalyst is actually really innovative and cool. But maybe before we get into that, let's get to know you a little bit better and start off with where you grew up.
Sure. I grew up in Bangalore in India.
Okay, very cool.
That's where I live. Yeah, that's where I'm calling you today, and that's where I live right now.
Very cool. Okay, so you went to university. What did you take and why?
I did a graduation in mechanical engineering.
Okay, what got you passionate about that early on?
Well, science and math have been very interesting to me from a very young age.
Okay.
And mechanical engineering gives you a very good opportunity to put some of those theories into practice. So it's purely based on what I love to study at that point in time. I did not really think about anything beyond the studies at that point in time in terms of career or opportunities. So I had fun studying mechanical engineering. Yeah.
Very cool. So you get out of school. Walk us through your career up until coming up with the idea of Shopalyst, and then we'll get into that.
Sure. So I got out of school, and as any mechanical engineer would want to get into, I got into the industry with one of the best companies in this space. You must be familiar with Bosch, a German company.
Yeah.
So I started my career there as
interesting.
As an engineer. And a few months into that job, I got this opportunity to, interview with a software company.
Okay.
Called Infosys.
Okay, very cool.
So Infosys was relatively new at the time, and the software industry in India was emerging, and the opportunity seemed very good, simply because software is something that brings in the best of your creative abilities as well as your analytical skills, and that's
Sure.
what motivated me. And of course, they paid a lot more than what Bosch was paying me. That was nice too.
Nice.
So I joined Infosys, and I worked there for quite a bit of time, about 15 plus years. And I was fortunate to see the company grow from being a small-sized software services company into a global powerhouse of consulting and technology. And I contributed through the journey, got a lot of opportunities to do a variety of different things.
Okay.
And
very cool.
Yeah, and through that process, I also got the privilege of working with some of the largest and the most well-known brands in the world. And my area of focus, of course, being technology, was about helping retailers and CPG brands use technology for success in their business. More specifically, I was working on helping build large-scale analytical systems or large-scale e-commerce transaction processing systems. Examples include, companies like Tesco or Target or Nordstrom, to name a few.
Okay, cool.
And one of the things that I helped Infosys think through and also get started on was the idea of starting a business around software as a service.
Okay.
Infosys, as you might be familiar, is a large technology and consulting company. And if you really look at the operating model of Infosys, just the way an Accenture or any other large software services company would be, They are doing skills as a service, right? Their core
Right.
ability is to kind of accomplish complex projects using very skilled workforce, right? In
Right.
that kind of business model, I wanted to actually incubate a new model where we were going to actually build software to solve specific problems for our customers and offer it as a service on the cloud, which is traditional SaaS. This was a few years ago, so about 12 years ago, and
Okay.
that's that at that time, at that point in time, SaaS was not as hot or as big as it is right now, and
Sure.
the company gave me an opportunity, and using that, to cut a long story short, in a matter of about 5 years, I helped build a business practice around software as a service. And in that journey, I personally authored 4 patents,
Wow.
commercialized all of them, and built a business model that was actually quite scalable. We had 63 customers. We had a sizable revenue base that we had created, and that was my journey at Infosys. And the team that I work with, we always were passionate about technology and how technology can shape the future of how we engage with businesses, how we engage with each other, and all of that. And my co-founders, Mohan and Sajesh, were very much part of my team while we were doing all this. And during that time, we had a lot of debates around why e-commerce, the way it is not necessarily built around consumers.
Okay.
The logic for that thinking was, in the physical world, you go to a store, meaning you have to drive to a store. Then in a store, you pick up a shopping cart, and then you take all the things that you want, go to the cash register, check out, leave the cart behind, and you go home.
Yep.
Now, if you really look at e-commerce today, it is still a similar experience. The store is still the destination. You go to Amazon, or you go to a Target or a Walmart.com, you add all the things you want in a shopping cart that site provides, and then you check out and you leave. So the metaphor of physical world retail is replicated in online.
Totally.
Which is not a bad thing to begin with. But today, there are so many things that have changed since Jeff Bezos started Amazon in 94, 95. Today,
Totally.
we have so many different platforms on which we spend our time, right? We could be on messaging, we could be on Instagram, we could be on Snap, we could be on Facebook. And in each of these different platforms, the number of times we discover products that we love are plenty. Yeah,
Sure.
I can give you an example.
Sure.
You could be scrolling through your newsfeed on Instagram. You saw some pictures from your friend who was recently on a holiday, and you see that your friend is wearing some really nice shades. So you want to comment saying that cool shades, buddy, and maybe if you're interested, you'll ask, where did you buy that or what brand? Yeah, that's a moment that inspires shopping.
Sure.
You discovered that product not because you were in a store actively shopping, but you discovered that because you were just browsing around. Now, how can we create a model where those moments of discovery can instantly transform into moments of shopping?
Interesting.
Yeah, because today the number of those moments actually resulting in shopping are quite less, simply because the product discovery and the product purchase are two different silos. To bring them closer requires a very different kind of thinking and a different kind of data organization and a variety of other technology elements that need to come together. And these were ideas that we were pursuing, where we said commerce has to be more shopper centered, and a store should not be the destination the way it is today. Shopper should be the destination. What that means is, if I discover something on Instagram, I should be able to learn more about that product and be able to purchase that while I'm on Instagram.
Right.
So bring the store to me to expand or extend my current experience, rather than expect me to leave my current experience and go to another one, which is in a store.
Sure.
So this, I'm guessing, sounds logical to you and anybody else. However,
Yep.
none of the large players in e-commerce today or in the large, media platforms are able to independently do this simply because they have a certain model that works. And for you to kind of, invent a better model, you need to kind of disrupt yourself, right?
Sure.
And, and that is where, we said there is a huge opportunity for us
Okay.
to do that. And that's when we started, looking at variety of different ways in which, you could accomplish this. How do you bring together information from multiple sources about products? How do you organize it in such a way that, any application has access to that information? How do you create services that can allow any app to become a shopping app? These are all the questions that we started to answer. And we said, this is quite interesting, and also, if done well, can be transformative, right? It can change the industry. And this is the kind of stuff that we should be building as a startup. And my colleagues concurred, and then we said, hey, let's go do this. So that's how, we ended up coming together, and, we left Infosys and we started Shopalyst.
Got you. Okay. So how did you guys start the first version? Did you bootstrap it? Did you start as a side project? Did you raise some money? Walk us through the early days of getting version 1 built and launched.
Sure. So the first year, was pretty much us co-founders, with our laptops working from homes, and we did a lot of the initial architecture and design of individual components, and we also coded that version ourselves. So we, all of us being hands-on really helps, iterate through different ideas very quickly. And
Sure.
we also had the privilege of working with a couple of friendly e-commerce companies who believed in this idea and wanted to play along and let us experiment. So the first year
So
was
how
all
did you-
about
Go ahead.
Karan.
Sorry. No, keep going. Keep going. Sorry.
The first year was all about building what we call as a minimum viable product that gives us an opportunity to test the hypothesis that we started with, test it at a meaningful scale, and use that as a basis for us to understand if this idea has legs, and if there are places where we were wrong and we need to take some course correction, and also get a sense of customer demand for something like this. So that is what we did in the first year. And
Gotcha.
yeah, go ahead. You had a question.
Yeah. So did you guys self-fund this then? Like, how did you guys support yourself? And then how did you land those customers that were willing to basically take a chance and be along for the ride in the early days?
Yes, we self-funded this activity. We were very clear. We did have a couple of angel investors who were interested in making an investment, but we did not take that option at that point in time, simply because we wanted to make sure that we achieve a certain level of clarity in terms of how this idea is going to evolve before we even bring in external stakeholders like investors. One is it gives you the freedom, right? And the second is it also gives you the opportunity to really get a sense of what kind of investments do you need to scale this, right? So we did not take any external funding. We did all of this on our own, and we pitched it to a few e-commerce sites, couple of media/publisher kind of platforms, saying that this is the future. And in principle, they all agreed. They all saw value in this, but they were not quite sure how easy it is going to be to build a system like this, number one. And second is have the ability to integrate such a new system into their existing platform and ecosystems, because they were not going to change their site, or they're not going to change their technology because we are coming in, right? We had to coexist, and we had to extend their existing system. So they said, as long as you guys are able to prove it to us that this is going to actually work the way you are describing, we are willing to try this. Yeah. So that's how we kind of put together our initial customer stakeholders, and we went through this process, and we actually could build at a reasonable scale that gave us the confidence that this idea really can work. And this idea is something that has global applicability, because what we're doing, be it on the digital media side or on the digital commerce side, we are blessed with the fact that everywhere in the world it's the same kind of technology and standards and platforms. So that gives us global applicability, and we use that to get a sense of how should we scale this, how should we architect this on the cloud, number of other factors. And once we got a sense of what kind of investments do we need to get started, and perhaps what will we need to scale it, we started talking to our friendly angel investors who had earlier talked to us, and they were quite happy to make an investment. We raised about $250,000 as our initial investment from 2 angels, and
Awesome.
yeah, and a few months from then, we started to get some interest from VCs that we talked to, and we eventually ended up raising $2 million from a fund called Kalari Capital.
Wow. Congrats. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So I'm curious, because you guys have been around for a number of years now, and some of the biggest brands on the planet are using Shopalyst. How have you guys evolved the platform into what it is today, and how have you managed that roadmap? I'm assuming you've taken a bit of user and customer feedback, but also what you see in the industry. Walk us through how the product's evolved over the last 7-ish years.
Yeah, great question. See, one of the things that we, looking back, we did well was a clear articulation of the destination for this. We knew it's going to take years, but it did not deter us from having a top level view of how we want to do this, right? So that initial straw man of the roadmap was something that we had envisioned even when we started the company. So that way, the broad direction has not changed. So we still continue to use our original direction. Right. Having said that, the specific implementations and the sequence of how we build it have actually changed. So I'll give you an example.
Sure.
When we started out, our thought process was, hey, if we are going to build a platform that is all about giving an ability to activate commerce on any platform, yeah. What we will do is we are going to actually organize the necessary data and information to accomplish something like that, and then offer a set of APIs as services that developers can use to activate commerce on their own application. Yeah. So I'll give you one example for you to get a sense of what a developer is and how they're going to use it.
Okay, sure.
So let's say you use an application like Strava. Do you use that? Or are you familiar with that?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Yeah, Strava is an app that is used by athletes worldwide, and Strava actually, by virtue of being an app that helps you track everything you do in your, for example, running, it knows what shoes you're on and how many miles have you run on it so far. So it has a lot of knowledge about your context, right?
Yeah.
Now, if they were to actually recommend to you the next shoe that you're going to buy when it is time to replace it, if they were to send a friendly reminder saying that do you want to reorder the same shoe within the Strava app, yeah, or would you like to consider these 3 alternatives? Okay, so that becomes an extension of the athlete's app and the context. You agree?
Yeah, totally.
And now if I choose to buy one of the shoes that were recommended to me, what if I could add it to my own shopping cart, Girish's shopping cart, which is within the Strava app, and be able to check out, and the actual transaction would happen on any site that is actually selling it. Yeah, it could be Nike.com, it could be something else. Sure. It doesn't matter to me because I'm able to do that checkout in a place where I got the motivation to make a purchase.
Sure. Well, and then Strava could actually probably send you whether it's Nike.com or Amazon or Walmart, if they had like the cheapest, whoever has the cheapest version, if it's on sale or something, right? Yeah, that's interesting.
Absolutely. So to get all that information, Strava could talk to our APIs, to know what's on sale, to know where is it available to buy, to know what is the price right now, to know what are the other comparable shoes that I could recommend. All these questions can be answered through our APIs.
Got you.
In this relationship, Strava becomes a developer, and they're going to pay us a fee for using our APIs.
Got you.
So that was the model that we thought we were going to monetize our platform.
Okay.
So we said, we are going to be an tech company, and we're going to have these APIs. We'll manage them, we'll provision them, we'll keep it available, uptime, all of that good stuff, and we will have tens of thousands of independent developers who are going to build their own interesting app extensions on shopping. They're going to consume our APIs, and we'll run a meter and we'll make some money. That was the initial idea of monetization. But we quickly realized that to be able to build a large developer ecosystem that can give you revenue growth takes quite a bit of time, and possibly more than the $2 million that we had raised.
Fair.
Because if you see, even largest companies like Facebook or Google today don't find it easy to build developer ecosystems around new things that they're launching, right? So that's
100%.
So what we said was, okay, what other ways can we accomplish this? So what we did was, we wore the hat of the developer, and we said, what kind of applications will have the highest scale? And I'm cutting a long story short here, and we realized that advertising has the highest scale, because every brand out there, be it a Unilever, be it a Diageo, be it a L'Oreal, they're increasingly shifting a lot of their advertising dollars to spend on digital media like Facebook or Google or Twitter or Snap. So each of these ads that they're serving every day, what if we can transform them into instant shopping experiences using our APIs? The same APIs that we had built, we started using them, and we called them shoppable ads.
Got you. Okay.
And that is what really took off, and we got a lot of traction, and we started out in India with a few brands who did the beta test and initial test and learn with us. I'll cut to the chase. In 4 years, we managed to scale that from a couple of brands in India to about, at this time, close to 500 brands in 30 countries.
Wow, that's awesome. Congrats. That's huge.
Thank you. And that really also kind of underscores the fact that there is a market for this, and there is clear directional evolution of how commerce and advertising can work together to create new value.
Sure. So how has this discovery, e-commerce, and kind of advertising melded together? And does what Apple launched with their privacy settings, and I know Google's trying to do the same thing with the new version of Android, is that going to change your business model a bit, or how you target people, or how's that going to change or affect things?
Great question. These changes around privacy are actually making brands focus more and more on direct relationship with consumers, and having the opportunity to, and creating opportunities to work with first-party data. So think of it like this: if you're an Amazon or a Netflix, when you use their platforms, you are giving them a lot of signals about what your interests are.
Totally.
And they're getting that knowledge directly from your interaction with them, and hence they have the privilege of using the data to make the right recommendations to you, which you don't mind. Right. Now, if every brand out there, the largest brands, be it L'Oreal, be it Diageo, if they had the same opportunity, then it's a good thing, right? Because brands now no longer have to depend on other third-party sources of data. Sometimes that third-party sources may not be privacy compliant or consented data, right?
Yeah.
So by these changes in privacy terms that Apple is doing, or Google is going to do very soon, brands are now sharpening their focus and making first party data a priority. And that's where platforms like ours actually take center stage, because our platform from day one has been built in such a way that brands can now create shopping experiences, which means they can interact with people in shop mode, and that interaction is directly with the brand and the consumer, and hence that data is first party. And that data can be used by brands to learn more about their consumers, learn more about their interests and behaviors, and also use that to ensure that their ads actually are well timed, well targeted, and also personalized, all within a privacy friendly, consented data environment.
Interesting. Okay. So how does that play into your Discovery Cloud? Is that similar or different, or walk us through that?
Yeah, the Discovery Commerce Cloud is indeed what will help brands accomplish what I just said. We call it Discovery Commerce for a reason. The e-commerce we know today is what can broadly be called as destination commerce.
Yeah.
Right. You are on a shopping mission, so you go to Amazon or a Nike or wherever you want to buy something. So Discovery Commerce, on the other hand, is not about shopping being a destination. You can be doing anything. You could be listening to music. You could be watching videos. You could be just scrolling on social media. If the moment demands an inspiration to buy, then Discovery Commerce kicks in, right? So if you end up discovering a product that you love as part of an activity that is not necessarily shopping, then how can you make that shopping friction free? How can you make that discovery seamless? Is what our platform is all about.
Got you. Okay, so do you maybe want to give us a few examples of how a brand has leveraged your platform into a successful campaign, so people can really understand how to go from day one to actually converting sales for products that they sell?
Sure. I'll give you 2 or 3 examples so that you get an understanding of how the use cases could be very different from each other, but still achieve the same outcome of building brands and driving sales. Yeah.
Sure.
So if you look at Diageo, they have a site where you could go and actually answer a few questions, and it will recommend the right kind of whiskey for you.
Okay.
That app, when it recommends the right kind of whiskey, it also shows a set of brands within their portfolio that you could consider purchase. That entire activity of getting a consumer through a set of questions, using those responses to identify the right product recommendations, and surfacing those products in the interaction, and also giving them a choice to buy from a variety of retailers who have it available to sell and at the price point that they're currently selling at. So this entire journey of someone trying to learn their whiskey taste or profile, discovering the right products and also finding the right place to buy them from and making that purchase is now made entirely seamless using our platform.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's one example. Another example I can think of is Estee Lauder in India.
Okay.
They have a brand ambassador who's quite popular. She has millions of followers on Instagram. And what they did was, working with that brand ambassador, they created an experience where she was going to explain her beauty regimen, how she makes choices of makeup. And that was like a toolkit where, my recommendations to you, and you can answer a few questions and I will tell you what I would pick. So that's the kind of narrative that they built. And through that process, they got a lot of people to, come answer a few questions about, what kind of, choices they make. And using that, they could profile their interests and then recommend the right kind of makeup, right kind of, other related products. And create them an opportunity to buy stuff because they got inspired from a influencer that they follow. So this is a good example of an influencer marketing use case that a brand did, where discovery and purchase were bundled within the influencer experience.
Right. Got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And the third one, and it's important, I'll give a third, which is more of an advertising kind of use case, which is a search marketing use case. Yeah. So when paid search as a channel is used by brands, let's say L'Oreal Paris, and if someone is looking for specific questions like trending lipstick colors, yeah, if somebody puts a query like that on Google, that's certainly an opportunity for L'Oreal Paris lipsticks to show up in a sponsored ad. Yeah.
Right.
And when somebody taps that ad, we activate an instant storefront where it not only gives ideas about what lipsticks are trending, what is selling better, what are people making choices, very interesting content around that, plus an ability to make purchases right there. So it not only answers the question that the user was having on Google search, but it also leads that conversation seamlessly into commerce. Yeah, so that is a traditional paid search campaign made shoppable using our platform.
Interesting. Right. Well, and then I'm assuming you guys can update and follow the trends a lot quicker because you're getting data from a bunch of different sources. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. Yeah. Many of our customers use our knowledge graph. That's what we call the underlying database on products.
Right. Okay.
So they use our knowledge graph to learn more about their potential market share, who they compete with, who are the newcomers that are trending up, what colors are working, what new categories are emerging. All of those questions about the market is something that they can learn using our knowledge graph, and that becomes a very important planning input for them to design the right kind of campaigns, the right kind of messaging. Now, I'll give you a simple example.
Okay.
There is this shampoo brand that we work with, which has a line of shampoos which don't contain any parabens, and they don't contain any harmful chemicals similar to parabens. Yeah.
Right.
Now, that is what the shampoo brand has always been. No parabens and no sulfates has been their promise, but their ad campaigns typically don't necessarily talk about that. They were using other things like silky hair and what have you. Yeah.
Right.
We found that based on the number of searches that were happening on Google as well as different e-commerce platforms, people were actually searching for paraben free or sulfate free. Yeah. So using that search trend from our knowledge graph, they decided to change some of their creatives as well as ad copies to talk about sulfate free, paraben free as a highlight, and also targeted the right users who were searching these questions with those kind of creatives. They could actually get the attention much better than ever before. So it was evidenced by a higher click-through rate, higher engagement rate, and also a higher sell-through rate. So using one signal about what people are looking for to tweak your creative copy as well as targeting is a great example of how you can put an insight into action.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense, right? And especially for basically you're using data and what people are looking for to tailor your advertising campaign so your conversions can be a lot higher. It's pretty simple, but it's cool that you guys do that. I guess it's a simple concept. It's hard to execute in your guys' back end, and there's a lot of data and stuff coming in, and some of the kind of AI around some of that, or the machine learning around that. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, our platform uses AI and extensive machine learning and a variety of different elements like distributed computing to achieve what we do. To give you a sense of the scale, our knowledge graph has information about more than 100 million products.
Wow.
And it has availability in 30 countries. So if you're in Indonesia, you can actually learn about products that are trending in Indonesia and what is selling in different categories. And if you're in Canada, you can do what's happening in Canada. If you're in Germany, you can do the same thing. So you can imagine, what all goes into organizing information at that scale. Yeah. So there is plenty of, we are a tech company
Sure.
at heart, and data is something that we organize at scale. Yeah. But all of this is done towards an end. Yeah. The end is to help marketers do better with, how they engage with consumers digitally, how they drive, sales, how they build brands, and all of that. And to be able to do that, we need to really simplify how they get to use our application, right? So
Yep.
if you were to compare us with, legacy tools and technologies available to marketeers, they were not necessarily built for use by a marketeer. Typically, they needed, somebody from IT, somebody from, ad operations to help them. And, marketer is still good at marketing, but he needs a team to accomplish sometimes even the simplest of things.
Right.
With our platform, we have brought together the essential elements of what a modern marketer needs. Yeah, the ability to know what's happening in the market through insights, the ability to understand their audiences through first-party audience data management, the ability to automatically activate campaigns on any platform with 2 clicks using our ads automation, the ability to craft beautiful experiences for consumers, and at all point in time have an ability to understand how these things are working through performance management. All of this is brought together in a very marketer friendly way for the first time. And the proof of the pudding that this is easy to use is customers who sign up with us can actively set up campaigns in less than an hour.
Very
And
cool.
if you were
That's
to,
awesome.
Yeah, and if you were to compare this with, marketing automation or experience management solutions that are already been there for a while, it typically takes weeks, if not months, to even install and get started. So compare that with 1 hour.
Sure. Well, you guys are leveling the playing field, right? You're basically giving a one-man team or 1,000-person team the same tools and resources that traditionally would take half a dozen people or more to execute, depending on the size and campaign, and then expertise and probably getting involved internal and maybe some external help just to get everything ready to go. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. We indeed are leveling the playing field, and in many ways, we are actually empowering marketeers with
Right.
technology that is accessible to them. Yeah. So
Yeah.
in one of the things that we promise is, if you already are a good marketeer, our platform helps you become a good digital marketeer.
Right.
So
Okay.
that's actually a loaded statement, because today the barrier between a good marketeer and being a good digital marketeer is a ton of tools, a lot of jargon, and plenty of teams. Now we are leveling that into something super easy, super intuitive for them to use.
No, that makes a lot of sense. But we're kind of coming to the end of the show. So how about we close with mentioning where people can get more information about yourself and Shopalyst?
Sure. Of course, they can always visit our site, www.shopalyst.com. There's a bunch of information that you can get there. And that also has an opportunity for you to schedule demos if somebody is interested to actually see the platform in action.
Perfect.
So, yeah, that's the easiest way to get to us.
Perfect. Well, I really appreciate you taking time to be on the show. I look forward to keeping in touch with you, and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, Kevin. Pleasure talking to you today. Thanks for having me on your show.
Of course. Thanks very much. Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Building the Future, hosted by Kevin Horick. With millions of listeners a month, Building the Future has quickly become one of the fastest rising programs, with a focus on interviewing startups, entrepreneurs, investors, CEOs, and more. The radio and TV show airs in 15 markets across the globe, including Silicon Valley. For full showtimes, past episodes, or to sponsor the show, please visit buildingthefutureshow.com.